So joining me now on Root of the Matter is Congressman Mark Green of Tennessee's 7th Congressional District. Congressman Green, thanks for joining us today, and we just appreciate your service and what you mean to Tennessee politics and the constituents of the 7th District, but also the constituents all across the state, because, you know, when I think of a congressman, I think you're representing Tennessee.
Well, that is very kind of you to say, and I feel like that. I mean, I love our state, and when I'm up there voting or trying to push a policy or trying to solve a problem, I hope it helps all of Tennessee and all of America.
And obviously, in this new Congress, you've been there since 2019, I think, and just all kinds of issues that you continue to face, and us as Tennesseans continue to face. We're getting over the pandemic and trying to fix our border, trying to fix waters of the U.S. You name it. There's just lots of issues, and I know you've been traveling this week with as chairman of the Homeland Security Committee to look at the border problems that we're having, and we can all agree that I think most people, I guess, will agree that there is a border crisis, and the things that come over that border are just indescribable of what's been taking place. But one thing for the farm people, you know, that we've been trying to work on for years, as you know, is immigration reform, and we depend on migrant workers to help the farmers here in this state and all across the country. So that's been a challenge, right?
So absolutely, there are so many things out there right now, you know, and you kind of went down a list, whether it's waters of the U.S., the economy, the southern border, and the lack of security at our southern border. Interestingly enough, you mentioned that I just gotten back from McAllen, Texas. We had a border hearing on the border, and we actually got the head of the Border Patrol to admit that they don't have operational control of our southern border, which was huge. But that's a problem. Of course, we got the issue in Ukraine with Russia. We got Russia, basically taking out one of our drones. We got Xi Jinping saying that he's going to take Taiwan. You've got the trade issues that are tied up with stuff with China that is severely impacting our farmers. You've got, of course, back to waters of the U.S. That's a big issue. In Tennessee, our success is also a problem, particularly for our food supply, because all these people are moving from California and Chicago and New York. They're fleeing some craziness, and they're coming to Tennessee, and we're turning our arable farmland into housing projects. So that's at some point going to be a concern. And I understand the farmer who gets an opportunity to cash out. I understand that dynamic, but we also got to think about it globally. As we have to feed our state, we have to feed, honestly, the nation. So those are challenges, and I don't always have the right answer on all of that, but I feel like we've got some solutions. And then there's the solar fields that are basically spoiling land that'll never be used because of the toxic stuff that leaches into the ground. I mean, the number of issues is just huge. And I feel very honored to be a chairman, because when you have a gavel, and there are only 20 gavels in the Congress, and I have a gavel now, I get to sit in all these leadership meetings. So even when it's not necessarily about Homeland Security, perhaps it's about the ag bill that's going to be coming up, I'm in there and able to talk with the leadership and share with the other chairmen what we think we need to do. And so it's good for my opportunity to make a difference. It's huge for the state of Tennessee, because I think everybody knows that I'm a Tennessee values kind of guy. I believe, like people in Tennessee, that government needs to get out of the way, but there's some areas where the government's got to do more. So, I'm excited to be there at this point in time.
And as we said, Congressman, one of the big issues and concerns for farmers is, having workers to help them do the work that we can't find other folks to help them get that work done, and so they've depended on migrant help for a number of years, and that's going to be even extremely important, even more so going forward, I guess, because again, we just can't find people to do that level of work and to do it in a way that needs to be done. So that's got to be an issue that's got to be addressed.
There's no doubt about it. The worker shortage puts the country at risk long term, population demographic wise. So it has to be addressed. The unfortunate thing is you can't fix immigration before you secure the border, and otherwise we'd have every person here. I mean, at some point, if you're moving people into your own house, you're going to get to a point where you can't put another person in your house. And we're there. I mean, this president has allowed 4.7 million in 2 years, 4.7 million people to come into the U.S., 1.3 million gotaways, 4.7 million encounters, 1.3 million gotaways. And and what's interesting is that the Chief of Border Patrol yesterday said as high as 20% more on top of that they don't know about. So that's another 260,000 people that they just don't even know how they got here. Well, we know because we've seen the game camera footage from ranchers in Arizona where, people wearing camouflage backpacks full of fentanyl and carpet shoes are walking across the border 150 a night, 200 a night in front of one game camera, bringing that fentanyl in that's killing our young people. So obviously we have to secure the border first, and that's my job to help communicate to the American people why the Democrat position on this is wrong. And once we secure the border, we have to fix immigration. We have to have worker visa programs. We have to fix all that because and we need legal immigration. We need legal immigration because our population demographics are going to make it tough. So let's solve the border crisis, and then let's get immigration reform. That's the 1 and 2 on that list of priorities.
Well, I know, and we talked about it earlier, but this whole waters of the U.S. Business, WOTUS, has been a up and down kind of challenge for our farm community, not knowing, what, one administration did one thing. Then the next administration came in, did another. Now another administration is taking it back. And now hopefully the Supreme Court will have some help in here when as they rule on the Sackett case. But, we just don't need to, our farmers at least, don't need a mud puddle to be regulated by the federal government. And right now, that's what... the wording on the rule now would dictate.
Yeah, so I have said this for years now, that the federal government, the left in the federal government, seems to think that wherever two raindrops come together, they get to say what happens. And it's ridiculous. It's a power grab from the crazy environmentalists in Washington. And we're not going to stand for it. We'll keep pushing back on it. We'll pass this bill out of the House. I know that. And it's interesting. We're getting some senators who are Democrat senators who are actually saying, yeah, I think I'm going to vote for that. So we stand a good chance of passing that and fixing this issue once and for all. So I'm real hopeful on that one.
The other thing, too, Congressman, is you spoke to it. You've always been a friend to the farmers here in this state and across America. And we're ready to celebrate National Ag Day, National Ag Week. The way we look at it, it is important that we have a day set aside. But, every day is kind of Ag Day. And especially in your position as chairman of the Homeland Security Committee, we look at agriculture as a part of national security. So that means we should be thinking about the importance of agriculture and the work that our farmers do on a daily basis.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Food insecurity, is something that hits pockets of our state and our nation. But in the long term, it becomes a national security issue. And so you think about China buying farmland in the United States, those issues pop to the top of the list that have to be addressed. You think about the availability of land that can be used to produce both crops and herds of produce that will meat that will feed us. So I mean, we absolutely have got to address this issue. It's very important, and it is a national security issue. I couldn't agree more.
So you're in Washington on almost a daily basis, and you're back in the district. And your thoughts on continuing in this role? How, especially with all the issues that you face, it's almost hard to. I don't want to say enjoy the job, but you're prepared for the job, especially with your background. And I'm thinking that this is something you feel destined to do.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I feel called to do what I'm doing. I look at my life and the experiences that God has allowed me to have, and they're fairly, broad. I mean, first as a infantry officer, thinking about national security, then as a physician, thinking about how we do healthcare, then as a businessman running a healthcare company, how we do business and how we create opportunity and create jobs, and then state senator, how do states handle their issues and then push back on the federal government, and now as a person in Congress, how do we protect our states and our states' rights, our farmers, our teachers, all of those. It is, I feel like my resume kind of built me to do this job, and I feel called, but there are days when you go, okay, God, is this really where you want me? But I think, days like yesterday where we really made a huge difference for the country, you go, okay, I'm right where I'm supposed to be, at least for today. And I think all of us, I encourage everybody to ask God every day, what is it you want me to be doing? I know I certainly have done that all my life, and God has closed doors. God has opened doors. And I think if we just take that perspective and put it before Him, there's a proverb, and I think it's actually, one of today's proverbs. I read this morning. A man plots his course, but God determines his steps. And if the Bible's true, and if that verse is true, which I believe it is, we all have to kind of seek where He wants us to go and do that. In this role, I think I'm right where I'm supposed to be right now.
Very good. Congressman Mark Green has been with us on Root of the Matter. And Congressman, thank you for your service and your continued commitment, especially to the farm people of Tennessee. They appreciate your service and look forward to the continued good work that you're doing on their behalf and on all Tennesseans' behalf in Congress.
Well, thank you, Lee. I really appreciate it. And, yeah, my commitment is 100% behind the guys and gals that risk a family asset that's probably been involved in the family for many, many generations to feed us and clothe us. And, I do a little bit of it myself. My wife and I have about 32 acres of cattle hay that we grow and sell. So waters of the U.S. and all these issues are pretty preeminent for us too. But, yeah, I mean, my first job in life was working on a feeder pig barn. I will always have the farmers' interest at heart and always have their back. And thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you, Congressman Mark Green.